Before we get into today's show, let me tell you about HubSpot. If you're hustling in the trenches to build a business or bootstrapping one of your own, let's talk about an AI-powered tool that can lighten up your workload a bit. HubSpot's Campaign Assistant is a game changer for creating marketing campaigns at scale. It quickly turns your key selling points into a cohesive pitch, which helps you deliver knockout emails, ads, and landing pages in minutes. So let Campaign Assistant take care of the campaigns so you can get back to growing your business. Work smarter, not harder at HubSpot.com/campaign-assistant.
Good morning, everyone. It is Tuesday, September 19th. I am Rob Litterst here with Ben Berkley and Sara Friedman, and this is the Hustle Daily Show. Today we'll talk about a summer full of disastrous festivals. While nothing has necessarily reached the full heights of 2017's Fyre Festival, the granddaddy of all bamboozles, we've seen an increasing number of large-scale events combusting in various ways. What's behind festivals' extraordinary dive into chaos? We'll get to that in a few minutes, but first, let's talk about everything else that's happening in the wide world of business and tech. Clorox is struggling to get manufacturing operations back up to speed after an August cyber attack. Clorox says the attack will mean a short supply of some of its products for an unknown amount of time. Ben, what is going on here? Because it sounds like you were doing some digging into this and cyber attacks are becoming more rampant. Can you tell us more about that?
For sure. Just yesterday's episode had Juliet and I talking about cyber attacks being this new constant in the lives of big companies. And right on cue, here we are again. Obviously, this is just a really big blow for corporate America to see yet another company slowed significantly by a cyber attack. Right now, Clorox believes it has contained the attack, but they are still fulfilling and processing orders manually. So it really may be a while until bleaches and detergents are back to their regular cadence of availability.
Next up, Katy Perry is the latest artist to sell her catalog, giving Litmus Music masters and publishing rights for her last 5 albums for $225 million. Mark Cuban lost $870,000 in a crypto phishing scam. Even sharks are susceptible to crypto scams. The investor suspects he downloaded a fake wallet he found via a Google search and it drained his actual wallet. Be careful out there. Indeed found that 50% of U.S. job postings in August listed salary info. In Colorado and California, where pay transparency is mandatory, it was 81% and 70% respectively. In the world of AI, a startup called Writer Inc. raised $100 million for its tech trained on corporate speak and designed to help companies generate things like product descriptions, job listings, and social media posts. Ben, tell me more about this.
So with the complete caveat that I have not used this product, and obviously anything right now you put AI on it and it's like a shortcut to riches, this is a weird one. I'm very skeptical of this product, if only because so much of the corporate writing world is already so repetitive. I haven't seen a lot of companies where every job description doesn't already just read exactly like the previous one. So I'm interested to see more of the use cases here. Obviously, if you can write a very convincing bit of social copy, that's very valuable. But I'm just not sure. I guess we'll have to try this thing out sometime really soon.
I agree with you. I'm skeptical of this stuff. But one thing it makes me think about is consultants. I feel like a lot of people talk about how consultants will just use buzzwords and slap those all over whatever it is that they're delivering to their client. But I guess we'll see. Lastly, have you seen the U.S. military's missing F-35 jet? Its pilot and wingman safely ejected amid a mishap over South Carolina. Now the plane is lost and the government is requesting the public's help. Each F-35 stealth fighter cost taxpayers an estimated $1.7 trillion over its lifetime. Ben and Sara, have either of you guys seen this jet?
I have not, and I feel like I don't want to. That would probably mean trouble at this point.
Agreed.
Yeah, I'm definitely not your guy for this hunt. I feel like I've been looking for a t-shirt that went missing like years ago. I felt really guilty also being so irresponsible with this item that probably cost like $9.99. So I feel like losing this jet at least really helps me in terms of putting things in perspective.
Yeah, you're off the hook, Ben.
Thank you. I needed that.
On to our main story. While there's been plenty of buzz about concerts going right this summer, shout out to Beyonce and T Swift, there's also a lot of talk about events going really, really wrong. Burning Man devolved into a muddy mess of evacuations. There's a class action lawsuit against the organizers of the Electric Zoo Festival. And that's just the tip of the iceberg. Sara, can you tell us more about what has been going wrong in the world of festivals?
Yeah. So as you said, Firefest was kind of the original lesson learned here, or it should have been. And we just keep going. There's a lot in the news lately. As you just mentioned, Burning Man is a big one. I think we all saw on our Twitter feeds a bunch of VCs trapped in the mud at Burning Man. There was heavy rain hitting the campgrounds, so people literally could not get out in the middle of the Nevada desert. Then there was Electric Zoo. Attendees are actually filing a class action lawsuit against the organizers for multiple last-minute cancellations and closures. People didn't know until right before and were trapped in the heat. And the list just goes on and on. There was a rock festival in Virginia that went south. There was the World Scout Jamboree in South Korea. And it's just been a mess. It kind of feels more often than not after these big events, we're getting bad news rather than hearing that it went off without a hitch.
It's being positioned as kind of a modern trend, right? But I think this is part of the ethos of music festivals. Like Woodstock was an absolute nightmare. If you look back at the footage of Woodstock, it was absolute chaos. I feel like back in the day, festivals kind of found their tribe. It was like the people that were going to festivals were down with sheer chaos and sleeping out in the sticks or whatever nature was going to bring at them. But since they've become kind of like the center of affluence and have had this kind of strange vibe where they're pulling in a lot more people than they used to, it seems like that just doesn't really work for the broader population.
No, that's a really good point. And I think social media as well. Now you can just instantly share photos and tweets from your phone. So
Totally.
When you're in your car trapped in the mud, you're going to tweet about it and it will go viral, get picked up by news outlets. And here we are.
I just feel like one thing that you really noted in your piece, Sara, was that these just are getting bigger. The scale of these events seems to be up. The level of expectation in spectacle of these things, obviously the ticket prices you would expect if you're spending hundreds of dollars to just go out into the middle of nowhere, you're going to want it to still be a premium experience. So it seems like so much of that is driving this level of expectations, and the reality just cannot possibly match up to it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think something to note is something like Burning Man or a lot of these events, because of how huge they are, they have to be in a remote location that's completely empty, which means everything from the bathrooms to the vendors to the floor and the stage is being bussed in and literally like built from the ground up. So there's a lot of room for things to go wrong. I think we take for granted the fact that some of these events, literally people had to build them from nothing and they're just fake cities that can pop up in a week or so.
It's truly crazy. I went to Coachella in 2010 and it legitimately becomes its own little universe. And I think another thing you noticed, Sara, is that there's been a lot more extreme weather, which throws a serious wrench in all of this. You're already out in the wilderness. If you add like a ton of rain, it's going to make for a much more interesting experience than I think people signed up for it.
Yeah, extreme weather, I think, is going to be the thing that's changing. This was always part of the deal. If you were going to a big festival or a concert, I think what is new will be the fact that weather is getting more and more unpredictable and intense. So you might not think torrential downpour when you're thinking Nevada desert, but I think in the future, people will really have to be ready for anything.
Totally. So all of this festival trouble raises one really big question. What would I have to pay you guys to attend Firefest 2.0? You know Billy McFarland's out and you know he's throwing down. Are you guys going to go? What would it take?
It's definitely not happening for me. I suppose if I had to go for work, it would be an interesting curiosity of some sort to just see what happens. However, it's really hard to imagine wanting to choose to be a part of something that, even if it's not the full-scale disaster of the first one, it's not going to go well.
Yeah, that's really fair. I think the journalist in me would want to go. I'm prepared now. Like the people who went to the first Firefest, they didn't know what they were getting into. It was horrible, but I would be ready with like my survival kit, but also my laptop. We could be doing like live updates for the daily from Firefest 2.0. So I think I would go.
Totally with you, Sara. I think the early aughts 7th, 8th grader in me would go just to meet Ja Rule, but I actually don't know if he would go for the second one, right? Probably not. He's probably broken it off with Billy. Oh, well. All right, that's going to do it for us today. Thanks for tuning into the Hustle Daily Show. We are a proud part of the HubSpot Podcast Network. Our editor today is Robert Hartwig, and our executive producer is Darren Clarke. We've got a lot more tech and business coverage in our newsletter. If you're not subscribed, what are you doing? Go get yourself signed up at thehustle.co/email. Have a wonderful Tuesday, and we will see you tomorrow.
Let me tell you about a show that I've been loving lately. It's called Entrepreneurs on Fire. It's hosted by the incredible John Lee Dumas. It's available now on the HubSpot Podcast Network. Entrepreneurs on Fire stokes inspiration and shares strategies to fire up your entrepreneurial journey and create the life that you've always dreamed of. I'm a big fan of this podcast. It has energy, it has value, and it's all about learning about entrepreneurship. I was just listening to an episode the other day. JLD interviewed Jay Rogers, who was such a wealth of information. He kind of went into how entrepreneurship chooses you. You don't necessarily choose it, and that failure only happens when you stop trying to win. A lot of gems in this one. So I highly recommend checking out that particular episode along with the rest. So go listen to Entrepreneurs on Fire wherever you get your podcasts. Hey guys, if you listen to the Hustle Daily Show on Google Podcasts, we want to let you know that the option will no longer be available pretty soon. Google is sunsetting its podcast app sometime in early 2024 in favor of YouTube Music, and we want to give you a heads up before it's too late since that time's almost here. The Hustle Daily Show is available everywhere and anywhere that you listen to podcasts like Apple Podcasts and Spotify. If you're using YouTube Music, we are there as well. If you're an Android fan, there are plenty of apps like Overcast, Pocket Casts, Player FM, and more. So just search for us wherever you decide to listen to your favorite podcasts.